Hi everybody, I'm Gwendolyn Sterk of Sterk Family Law, and I'm privileged to have Terrence Fogarty, our new estate planning attorney. Thanks for being with us today and talking about estate planning.
Thanks for having me, Gwen.
It is so exciting because we know that in family law, estate planning is really an essential part of what we do for our clients, and having that included in their family law services is important to me. Tell me what kind of services that's going to embrace.
Well, frankly, Gwen, it's different for each client. But depending on the circumstances, it might entail will definitely entail a will, might entail a living trust, might entail a irrevocable trust, may entail several powers of attorney for health care, powers of attorney for property, and frankly, it could entail some other items such as a guardianship, depending on the circumstances.
Right, and it's interesting because I think that what happens is that we fail to follow through with that in life, right?
Yes, definitely.
You know, we're always creating that estate plan and we never get around to doing it. Why is it important for somebody to take care of their business with this regard?
Well, it's very important because, number one, if you don't have an estate plan, the state of Illinois has an estate plan for you. And I can guarantee you it's not going to be the estate plan that you want for you and your loved ones. Okay. Second, it's very, very important to have a plan in place because I think a lot of people look at estate planning as simply a means of deciding where their assets are going to go if they pass away, but that's not really the case. The flip side of estate planning is planning for you and your loved ones if you should become incapacitated and unable to make decisions for yourself. So it's really not about just planning for what happens to your assets when you pass away, but about planning for the care and care of your loved ones. Right,
and I think that that's something we fail to recognize because we're all going to go through it, right? I have an 89-year-old, almost 90-year-old mother, and I can tell you that care has taken up a substantial amount of time, and we want to do it, but not having that prepared and not knowing what to do, when you get that crisis call comes in the middle of the night, and if you don't have that prepared, you're in trouble, right?
Yes, and you'd be surprised at how many calls that I receive once we've passed that point of no return where the individual really can't make the decisions that are involved in putting together a comprehensive estate plan. And so that just opens a whole other can of worms that you need to deal with, and which is another reason why it's so important to be proactive and have an estate plan done early in life.
Now, in terms of your directives, so for example, for that medical piece, you're going to want to have that medical power of attorney, correct? So the healthcare power of attorney to direct who's going to make that decision, because you don't want to have a fight, right, at the hospital.
Right, exactly. It's very important to have somebody designated because otherwise the family members will get in a big argument, either with themselves or even with the hospital, because they may not have the ability to view the medical records. They may not have the ability to make any medical decisions, and they may believe that they do.
Right, and that's a real tough position to be in when you're in that emergency critical time. The other thing is that if you're the person creating the estate plan, you can also give some advanced directives, correct?
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Correct. Well, some of the advanced directives that you can give, folks may be kind of familiar with a living will, which basically is a statement that says that if you are in a state where the only way that you're going to survive is through artificial means, you don't want them to continue on taking care of you. So that's one example. But that's just one example. Quite frankly, in a medical power of attorney, we can really tailor it to anything that you'd like to put in there.
Sure, and I know that becomes very controversial, but if the person has given that directive, it certainly makes it a little easier for the family or for the one that's been appointed as power of attorney for health care, correct?
Definitely. There are a lot of folks who are hesitant about being named power of attorney for health care for that very reason. They don't want to be the person who is responsible for making that decision, and so the directives can really help out in that respect.
So not only those, so that gives an illustration of what happens and why you would want to do it as a living document almost to protect yourself. But then also in the event that you do pass away, you do want to be able to have that ability to say, I want my children to get this amount of money, or I want this charity to get this amount of money. You know, there really is some control that you can have. Is that correct?
Oh yes, there's a great deal of control that you have. In fact, most people are very surprised at the amount of control that you can have. And the other aspect of that too is avoiding the entire probate and court process because that can be an extremely costly process. And going back to what you'd mentioned before about why folks often put off estate planning, they can sometimes look at it as an expensive undertaking, and they say, well, I just don't have the money to do it right now. But if they don't take care of it, the costs after death can be astronomical.
Sure, and then they can create a trust. There's many things that can be done that make things pass easily and automatically, correct?
Yes, there's plenty of ways for you to completely avoid probate and never have to go to court.
And, you know, being a litigation attorney, I can tell you that's something you want to avoid.
Yes, definitely.
Because of the cost and all of those items. So if you're out there today and you're listening and you've recently gone through a divorce, or maybe you're just young and you don't think you need it, here's the other thing that can be included, correct? Is that you can give directions as to who's going to care for your minor children.
Yes, that's a big one. That's probably the main reason why folks who have children really should have at least a basic estate plan in place. Even if you don't think you have enough assets, another reason why people don't tend to not have an estate plan, well, I just don't have enough. You know, I don't have anything to leave to anybody. Well, if you have minor children, you definitely want to put a plan in place so that you can name who will take care of them if you should pass away or become unable to do so.
Sounds to me like everybody needs to have an estate plan.
I believe so.
So take care of your business today. That's the message. Come out, visit with Terry. He gives free consultations, and we can help service and create a plan that is unique to your situation where you're at. And then updating estate plans is also something that we offer, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. You really should have your estate plan looked at least every couple of years or whenever you have some kind of major life change.
Sure. We all know that life changes occur and things happen, and it's outside of our control. So reach out to us. Thank you, Terry, for telling us about the services today, and hopefully we can then create a plan that makes the family have a little peace in the time that we know is going to happen with life changes.
Yes, that's definitely my goal.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gwen.
Take care.